at the booth today and hosting. And then if you have something to share with us, please click on the chat symbol at the top or the bottom of your screen to share your comments or ask a question. And so why don't we begin? Well, welcome. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee Sunday service. My name is Reverend Rick Kearney, and I'm the Associate Minister here at the Center. And we are coming to you live today from our sanctuary in Kearney, California, at North Lake Tahoe. We are joined by our live audience here in the Center and online through Zoom. It is my joy to welcome you, it really is. Whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. We know that there are many paths to God, and we recognize that all of these paths end in oneness and in love. We're grateful that each of you is here to join us today. We are excited for you being here, but we're also excited by our moonshot vision. So, sorry if you can put that vision statement up. And why don't you read along silently as I read it aloud. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. What is our passion? We are a loving and inclusive spiritual community that supports and inspires healing, prayer, and personal growth. What is our resource engine? Divine Source sustains us through our dedicated and creative people, socially relevant principles, and versatile sacred space within a magnificent natural setting. And what are we best at? We practice and teach spiritual principles through Sunday services, meditations, classes, and experiences in nature and creative expression. And that is who we are and what we do. We start our service with our receptivity statement that you'll see on the screen here in just a second. I am here by divine appointment. Something I'm about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. Thank you. Our musician today is Emily Tessmer. Now, as you know, Emily and Joaquin Fiorezzi have moved from the Lake Tahoe area and are now living near Plymouth, California, where Joaquin works in Amador County, works at a winery, and Emily is working from home. They couldn't be here with us today, but Emily is sharing her music with us remotely. And her first song, which she recorded for us, is called The Protection Song. Slayer?
Thanks for having me today. I'd like to open with this song. It's called Protection Song, and I wrote it during the pandemic to remind myself that we are never alone, we are always protected, and that love is all there is. Archangel Michael to the light, Gabriel to the left,
wonderful music she always provides us. Well, our practitioner today is Shirley Clark. Shirley and her partner Karen live in Carson City, where they take care of Shirley's mom. And unfortunately, Shirley's mom had a little thing come up this week. She's okay, but Shirley felt more comfortable staying at home rather than being away. And so she's coming to us remotely from home in Carson City for the sacred reading as well as the affirmative prayer. Please help me welcome Shirley.
Good morning, everyone. And so let's take this time to just remind ourselves that we are in sacred space. No matter where we are, it is sacred space. The moment we collect ourselves and bring to mind that we are one, we're one with the universe and all beings. And I just claim that oneness and the goodness and the love, the peace and the creativity that comes through each and every one to be shared with the world. And in gratitude for our time together today and all that is, together we say, and so it is. So the spiritual reading this morning is in response to this month's theme, which is the soul's call. And today's talk is entitled The Soul's Call to Freedom. And the reading comes from the very beginning page of the Science of Mind textbook. And it's about the thing itself. To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create man in bondage and leave him bound would be to dishonor the creative power which we call God. To suppose that God could make man as an individual without leaving him to discover himself would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality must be spontaneous. It can never be automatic. The seed of freedom must be planted in the innermost being of man. But, like the prodigal son, man must make the great discovery for himself. We see abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. Why then is man weak, poor, and afraid? The science of mind deals with these questions. The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of man is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. And now I'd like to call, if I can, Emily Tessmer back to the stage.
This next song is called The Glow.
And you'll find it on my Earth Song album. hearts of man and the sacred ground. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones that came before. Light up the sky with our wings around the hearts of man on the sacred ground.
You follow a song like that. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. That's worth a sermon right there. But today is the fourth Sunday of the month, so yeah, I'm here. And this is our wrap up of the series on the soul's call. And so I'm going to be spending just a little bit of time talking about that, but I have to share a story that came up for me as I was preparing to speak here today. I have a younger brother named Mike, who's 6 years younger than I. And when he was in seventh grade, his teacher selected him to go on a Sunday morning television show there in the New York City area on the public broadcasting station to talk about the soul of Nixon. Now, he and I both attended a Catholic school. And so when I heard about this, I was intrigued about why would they want these children to talk about Nixon, after all. Now, Michael's a smart guy, and he had heard about Nixon. And so he thought about it some. And because my dad was working that day, I had to drive him into New York City. And it was about a 45-minute drive. To take him to the broadcast studio and then wait for him to take him home. So as we're driving along that day, I started asking him about, what do you know about Richard Nixon? He did bad things. He lied to the people. And so, some people might consider that to be, like a sin, and his soul is something that is going to be affected by it. So, he had his thoughts together. We get there to the broadcast studio, and we're welcomed by the producer and the aides running about, making sure the lights are on, the sound is on, and such. And as an off-the-cuff comment, the woman who was helping him to get microphoned up and everything said, "Well, I'm amazed that somebody so young would know about Alexander Solzhenitsyn." My jaw dropped. Michael looked at me and said, "Help." And so he and I went off into a corner and spent the last 5 minutes before going on the air, my telling him all I knew about Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the Russian author and dissident who was jailed for a long time by his government for what he had written. And what that place he was sent was called a gulag. And there are lots of other gulags. And he wrote this book, The Gulag Archipelago, which just won the Nobel Prize for writing. And so they kicked him out of Russia, and he came to the United States, and he's continuing to work. And so that's all I know. And he looked at me and said, "Got it." And he walked out on stage, sat down across a table with someone who was very well prepared, and also was, understanding that this was, after all, somebody who was no more than 12 years old, and was, asking, rather softball questions, if I may say. And he did great. He did great. And when it was over, I looked at him and I said, "How did you do that?" And he said, I just let it flow. I just let it flow. And so it proved to me, as I reflected on this over the last week, oh my God, this ability to BS must run in the family. Because our Irish uncles could do it. He could do it. I was learning how to do it. And so you got me today, like I said. Yeah, the soul of Nixon. But we spoke on the phone about it last night. I wanted to make sure that he was okay with my telling the story. And he said, oh yeah, go ahead and tell the story, but make sure to mention Mrs. Burns, that teacher who set me up for failure, which didn't happen. Thank God. So yeah, it's interesting how life delivers us into these situations that, you know, we just have to muddle through. But getting back to the topic of the soul, you know, for the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about soul as if everybody knows exactly what we're talking about. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. Because, you know, when I say the word, it may not be the same thing that comes to your mind. And so when I'm talking today about the soul, I'm talking about that innermost part of us where the human and the divine intersect. That place that we get our divine inspiration, where we get our divine visions, where we can really reach in and find that part of us which is not made of flesh and blood, flesh and bone. In fact, it is a part of us which is immortal. It is a part of us that has always been and always will be. I use the term a twinkle in God's eye, because it is something that we are given through divine love and grace. I'm going to ask Sawyer to pop up a slide for me here, please. I want to say what's in the Science of Mind textbook about the soul. Keep going, if you will, please. Thanks. Well, okay, it's not the textbook. This was a piece from the Declaration of Principles that Ernest Holmes wrote upon request by the editor of the Science of Mind magazine for the very first edition. And in fact, he wrote a list of things that, you know, are kind of core to the Science of Mind philosophy. And all of them start with the words "what we believe" or "we believe." So it actually has come to be known as "what we believe," and it's still in every issue to this day. We're coming up on 100 years of Science of Mind magazine. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. And later on, it goes on to say, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny, for we understand that the life of all is God. Thank you, sir. That simple statement, the eternality, immortality, and continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding, summarizes what the soul is doing. It started as a plan, a twinkle in God's eye, a perfect image of what each of us would start our lives with. And at that point, have responsibility for nurturing, for expanding, for growing, for bringing forth into the world. And I'll eventually come back around to this at the end, but I want to say that when we do that, we are executing the divine plan, bringing forth the most perfect expression of ourselves as individuals within the one. And when we do that, we are adding to the world that works for everyone. But you have a lot more to sit through until you get to that point again. The soul is within us. The soul is seeking to express itself. Our unique skills and abilities and our unique personalities are what's embedded in that soul. And it's that soul that speaks to us in our dreams and in our visions. And when we go within in meditation and still our minds and the thinking self and allow that spiritual self to emerge, amazing things can happen. But sometimes, because of society, because we are living in the Maya, the illusion of like, this is all there is, we forget that. Or we don't get the opportunities to learn that. And so, sadly, some folks live their entire lives not even aware of what's beyond. I had a personal experience, I probably have shared before, but I'll do it again, of being a young man with my first child at my feet in a tough situation that I could not get us out of. And this was on a cold winter's evening as the sun was setting, creating this glorious range of colors in the clouds. And not being able to fix my problem, I turned my eyes to the heavens and said, "Thy will be done," getting myself out of the way. And the most amazing thing happened. In a moment, it was what I came to understand was a vision. A sense that I was surrounded by a sea of love, that all would be fine, that in fact, I always has been fine and always will be fine. And that this love is here and is what I came from and to what I will return when my life is done. And it's over in a flash. But it is as real and as permanently etched in my mind, in my heart, and in my DNA at this point that that's real as me standing here. As real as that. It led me to the solution for my problem, like instantly. It was done. And that has now been embedded in me and why I'm standing here as your minister. To tell that story to as many people who will listen, even record it, and to let you know it's okay, it's all right, it's always been, it's always will. And there's nothing to fear from death. Anyway, getting back to the soul. When we suppress that spiritual side of ourselves, when we hold back from expressing that spiritual side of ourselves, we're denying God its expression here on earth. We're denying ourselves that opportunity to know and to be intimate with the divine. And even while that happens, the soul is still with us. The soul is still aching to come forth. Jim Lockhart, next slide, please, who is now a retired minister and one of the great minds of current time, wrote about this in his blog called New Thought Evolutionary. There it is. We are ever urged forward in our growth and realization. The divine urge of our soul is to move towards greater fulfillment and expression. The soul wants us to be fully authentic, fully realized, fully expressed. Soul will not settle for less. Because if growth stops for too long, it will torment us until we get back on the pathway. Thanks, Sawyer. That is a warning as well as an observation that the spirit will not sit still while we idly live our lives, that there will be within us an urge to come forth. So the question is not, is it real and will it happen? Yes and yes. But what do we do about that? What do we do with it? It's so common for people to just deny it, to pretend it's not there, to suppress it. And that comes as a result of our upbringing. We're told to act a certain way and be a certain way by our parents and peers and the media. In later life, if we continue to deny it, we oftentimes try to deaden the pain through drugs and alcohol, through all types of inappropriate behaviors, or focus on the material, like the next car or the next house or the next partner or the next, you name it, will somehow satisfy that urge within us, satisfy that need within us that can only be satisfied by the spiritual, by connection with God, by bringing forth what has been put within us for just that purpose. Sometimes people who have denied it say it to themselves, I know I've been here. I will get to it. I will postpone it for now and live with this ache in my heart until a different time. I like I'm making a bargain with God. I'm trying to make a deal. The soul says, no, that won't work. And it continues. It's only when we decide to act on it, to decide to allow it to come forth, to be that expression of the soul in human form, that we finally find ourselves in a new place, in a new way. We have unique gifts. We need to live our life authentically. And sometimes that means, for some, coming out of a closet, for others, living in a different way than they live now. Perhaps that explains a whole lot of the midlife crisis that we know about. But it's when we can connect with that part of us that is divinely placed, and we can come forth as we are, who we are, and treat ourselves with compassion and love, that we are free to do the same for others, because we see that they are in that same place, in that same journey, that one that we have been moving through ourselves. When we find that we can accept them as they are, in all of their various ways. We're not one-dimensional people. We have many different facets, many different aspects. And we recognize that others have that too. And we see that these are children of God, like we're children of God, bringing forth what was in them to bring forth. When we show ourselves as genuine, we inspire others to also be genuine. When we come forth with our truest selves, others feel safe to do the same thing. We can start this chain reaction of love and acceptance and grace. So it's not always what is ours to do, but oftentimes it's what are we to be? What is it mine to be? I struggled with this when I was thinking about the ministry. Like I felt the pull to serve as a minister, to be in a position where I could talk about this and what's going on in my heart and mind. And I think to myself, like, oh, how will that look? And what should I do? And blah, 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 blah. And it was really in a moment of clarity. I realized it's not about the doing. It's about the being. Who am I to be in this world? To be a man expressing loving kindness to all he meets. A man bringing forth some knowledge and wisdom gained over years of experience. To be vulnerable to being hurt and still moving forward with that. I tell you, when I was a soldier for 20 years, seeing or crying in front of the troops was frowned upon. I'll be honest with you. It's just not something that you wanted to do. But that aspect of me, the tender and strongly emotional side of me, was suppressed. And it was only after time had passed and I had decided that I was no longer who I was, that I was coming out of the service, that this whole aspect of me started to show. And I love it. That's who I am. And I make no apologies. I forgave myself for not allowing it to happen sooner. And I can now look with love upon all others who are going through that journey themselves. That's how we learn and grow. We all make mistakes. So, here's your homework for the week. Take time this week to look within yourselves. We do our meditation. We do our introspection, because that's who we are. And I'm going to ask you to try to discern what your soul is calling to you to be or to do. Now, here's a hint. The intuition is there, but sometimes we get stuck. Things don't come quite so easily. So if you find yourself stuck, then think about the one aspect of your life that bugs you the most. Where are things going wrong, or at least uncomfortable? And I'll bet you money that's where the call is happening. Because it's the soul's frustration with not coming out that oftentimes results in discomfort on the physical level and the emotional level. So ask you to do that, and maybe we can talk about it next week after service. So, it's kind of a way of wrapping up. Whenever any one of us raises our individual consciousness, it has this positive effect on us. It really does. We bring forth the image of God. God as Rick, God as Bob, God as Shirley, God as Nancy. Now, all of us, we all have our unique expressions of God in human form. Allow it to be. Allow it to be. Last slide here. Then we'll move into our affirmative prayer. Oh, before that, there it is. Ernest Holmes, again in The Science of Mind. We are to see that spirit creates all things by the power of its own word, and that we are spiritual beings. We are to hear that inner voice of truth, which is ever proclaiming the freedom of all life, the eternal unity of God with man. Let's do prayer a different way this week. Rather than my standing here and praying for us all, let's do something different. A practitioner from Tampa, Florida, by the name of Deidre Johnson, has written a set of call and response affirmative prayers. And so what I would like to suggest is that we do slides one at a time, and I will recite the soul's call, and I ask you to recite what's underlined, which follows. Each of the responses comes from a different faith tradition. This is one of the golden threads running through all other major faiths. Remember, you are part of the whole. And you say,
I am made in the image and likeness of God. I am a child of God.
we shall show them our signs on the horizon and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth.
I recognize the poetic image on the edge of my intuition and follow it. It is my guidance.
When the soul attains the presence of God, it will assume the form that best befits its immortality and is worthy of celestial habitation.
I live in the presence of the divine while acting in earth.
The body is the sheath of the soul.
I care for and honor my body as it is a temple of the divine.
Characterized by knowledge and vision, my soul is formless, an agent, having the same existence as my body.
I surrender into the oneness. My consciousness is open to receiving the wisdom of God.
And so it is. Sorry, one more. Today, I connect with nature as it feeds my soul. I am sensitive to symbolic and metaphoric occurrences in my life. I move with synchronicity as I'm with you. I cultivate my soul's journey as it takes me to new insights and a greater vision for my life. My spirit soars freely like an eagle high above the earth, and I see the future unfolding through divine eyes. I know that all is well.
And so it is.
So it is. Well, at this point, I'd like to have Emily Tessmer back.
This next song is called I.
Light, I am love. Feel free to sing along. I am light, I am love. I am peace, I am joy. I am divine. We are
love her music and the person herself. Truly a blessed soul. We've now arrived at the time for prosperity. And so let's do what we do every week and recite together our affirmation. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me, blessed and multiplied. And as you know, there are many ways for us to share of our offerings. We can do it online, we can do it on paper. It's not just money, it's also time and talents are needed for the operation of our center. So I ask that you look within yourself and give what you can in whatever form that may be. And rather than pass a basket, we will have a basket over by the door, and I ask it that you drop off your envelopes as you leave today. For those who are watching, you can find a link to our PayPal account donations on our website as well as on the newsletter. So I invite you to take advantage of that. And we are ready to sing our
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
Thank you. Let's move on. This is our time for announcements. And so, as you know, we are recording this session here today, and it will be available on our YouTube channel within a day or so. So I encourage you to check it out and let your friends and family know that they can go back and watch this service. And it's always available, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've had recordings now for the last year. So you can spend as much time or as little time as you like there. Links are, like I said, on our website, Facebook, and Instagram. Next Sunday, Reverend Pam will be back to start the July session on Pulled by the Vision. The first of which, if you will move along, please. Thank you, sorry. We hold these truths. It happens to be the 4th of July, so I think it's very appropriate that we hold these truths to be self-evident, maybe? We'll have to find out next week. Colleen Akiko will be our guest musician, and Brenda Hildorn will be our practitioner of the day. Thank you. We have a class coming up starting on July 15th, each Thursday through September 2nd. So this will actually end prior to Labor Day. It's updated class. They recently made some changes to bring it into more modern parlance, as well as concepts, spiritual economics based on the book by Eric Butterworth. I encourage you to check that out and to call or email the office if you're interested in attending. Thank you, Sawyer. Next. We are once again making plans to go out onto Highway 267 and take care of our Magic Mile there. Adopt a highway public service activity. I invite you to mark your calendars for that. Okay, moving on. Thank you. There is a virtual conference coming up starting August 13th. Registration is still available to SOAR 2021. I encourage you to check that out at csl.org, as well as another event, which is an in-person event. I'm sorry, this is a virtual event as well, the International New Thought Alliance, when folks from CSL get together with other denominations to talk about things that involve us all, taking place in July 20 to 22nd. Next one, please. And Big Sky Resort is the host for our Big Sky retreat. This is actually a regional retreat. David Alt is a wonderful speaker. I invite you to check that out. And then lastly, there's a full calendar of ongoing events at our center, not just a Sunday service. While our practitioners are taking a summer break from the Monday and Tuesday meditations, there are still events on Thursday with Tai Chi. Chris Rochester putting that on Thursday afternoons at 3:30. The very popular meditation led by Mary McEnany and Penny Schuller on Thursdays. They have energization exercises at 4:30 and the meditation starts at 5. Sue Pipel, thank you, Sue, for leading a course of love on the first, second, and fourth Fridays of the month. And then on the third Fridays, Letting Go, a book study, a book by David Hawkins. But with that, I'd like to say thank you so much to our practitioners who are here, as well as online. We have myself and Nancy O'Neill who are here and able to work with you after service if you wish. There's also an opportunity to go into a private chat room on Zoom if you wanted to spend some time with Shirley Clark or Carol Dalbon, practitioners who are there. Thank you for your presence. And thank you very much for your wonderful prayer and reading today, Shirley. There's just so much happening that it's almost overwhelming. Almost, but we're not there yet. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of all the good things going on. And so before we wrap things up, we will have one more affirmation and then music by Chris Law, who will lead us in Let There Be Peace on Earth. And so Sawyer, if you flip to our slide. That's the very last slide in the stack. Please repeat after me. I consciously and confidently live my own truth. And so it is.
So it is.
Let's hear Chris.